tutorial on putting your data from your By Golly by Gum science lab into an Excel document using formulas to find the difference, the ratio, the percent of sugar, and making logical graphs. This is a picture of a final copy of what your lab is going to look like. Of course, your totals and your chewed mass will be different numbers, as will your differences in your ratios than what I have here, but the process will be the same. So you'll notice that here we have the difference. If you look up here, the difference does not show as a number up here in the formula bar, but as a formula that we found that we use to find the difference. If I scroll down, you'll see we have a comparison of the unchewed and chewed mass of Bubblicious gum flavors, done first as a bar graph just showing the total mass versus the chewed mass, and then you see we have made another graph showing the percent of sugar in the different flavors. What I'd like you to do right now is I would like you to go to Start menu, go to Computer. I'd like you to go into the Student Drive and then find Mr. Thesis folder, and you'll find a file in there called By Golly by Gum for Students. Please double click on the file. Now the minute you have this open, before you do anything else, I want you to go to File, I want you to go to Save As, and then I want you to navigate under Computer to your own folder. That will be your username. For example, my name is Stanley. And then go into your 7th grade portfolio and your science folder. I want you to change the file name. I want you to put the curse before the by and add your last name using proper capitalization. And then you can get rid of the revised December 2011. So it simply reads your last name by Golly by Gum for Students. And then you will click Save. Now once you have done that, you will be in your very own spreadsheet. So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about one of the competencies that you are going to be learning, and that's called how to merge and center a title. Right now, if I click into cell A1 and I look up in the formula bar, you will see By Golly by Gum by, and this is where you'll substitute your first and last name, is all written in cell A1. If I go into cell B1 or C1 or D1, there's nothing there. The title is in A1. We need to merge and center this title because as you put in the brand name, it's possible that it might get chopped off. And what we want to do is we want to learn how to merge and center a title so that it does not affect the width of the column. So when I double click between the A and the B, without my title merged and centered, you notice that the column A gets very large and unwieldy. I'm going to do an edit undo. I'm going to go up into my formula bar and I'm going to get rid of the parentheses and I'm going to type, as you will type your name, I'm going to type my first and last name. I'm going to go back in here and put a space in. And then I am going to click off to set it. I'm then going to select, I'm going to click into cell A1 and using this white cross, which is the selection tool where I can select a range of cells or an individual cell. And if I select an individual cell, I can always look up here and tell which column and which row the cell belongs to. This is B6, for example. I'm going to be telling you to click into D3 or to D4, so you'll know E3, F3, etc. You'll know from this which cell you're to click into. So I'm going to click into cell A1, and using the white cross, I'm just going to click and hold right in the middle of the cell, and I'm going to select over to cell G1. Then I'm going to go up on the toolbar, and where it says Merge and Center, I'm simply going to click right in the middle of the words, and it has now merged and centered my title. Now watch what happens when, see how brand name is a little bit cut off here? When I double click between the A and the B to expand the cell, it opens up to exactly hold brand name. So that's merge and center. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to enter data. So because all of the brand names were Bubblicious, we're going to type it once. Bubbliccious. Now, I could easily type this again 5 more times for the 6 different flavors that we're going to match it up with. But I don't really need to do that because Excel recognizes patterns. So all I have to do is get a different cursor. I'm going to go to the bottom right-hand corner of the cell, and the cursor changes to a dark plus sign. When I click and hold and drag down 5 more times, it puts in Bubblicious for me. Excel is very good this way. If I started typing January, and then I went to the bottom right-hand corner of the cell, it knows that I want to type all of the months. I have a range of cells, so I'm going to use the delete key to get rid of them. Okay, if I started typing Monday, Excel is smart enough to know that I want the days of the week. Or if I had 5 and then I went to 10, whoops, I need to go to another cell, I'm sorry. 5, and then I hit enter to go down a cell, 10. Now if I use the white selection tool to select this, and then I go with the plus sign in the bottom right hand corner, it's going to count by the pattern that I established, which is to count by 5s. Okay, so what I need you to do now is I need you to type in your flavors. I need you to type in the number that you found when you weighed the mass of the total pack before it was chewed, and then I need you to enter the chewed mass for each of the flavors. Then when you're done, you'll stop and we'll go on, and we'll go into the rest of the formulas. Do not type what's on your paper that you figured out with your calculator. Anything you figured out with your calculator, we're going to have Excel do. So do not type the difference, the ratio, or the percent of sugar. This is going to be done with a formula, working with the data that you typed in for the total mass and the chewed mass. I'm going to shift to another sheet. I've got a By Golly by Gum with my, without the formulas in, but with my flavors. Now my flavors are going to vary from your flavors, and my masses are going to vary from yours. Okay, once you've got this all typed in, we are going to have Excel figure out the difference between the total and the chewed. And to do this, we're going to select cell E3, the intersection of the column and the row. And once we're in E3, we're going to type a equal sign, because the equal sign lets Excel know that we want to do a formula. So what do we want to do? We want to subtract the chewed mass from the total mass. But we don't use the specific numbers in Excel. In Excel, we use the cell references. So the total mass for the watermelon, which is in row 3, is actually in cell C3. Now I could either type C3 on the keyboard, or if I click into the cell, it types it for me. And then I do the minus sign, and I want to subtract what is in cell D3. All right? So now I have my formula, the total minus the chewed. And when I hit make sure you don't click anywhere else or it will ruin your formula. I click enter, and it gives me my answer. Now watch what happens when I click into cell E3 and you look up at the formula bar. You don't see the specific number, but you see the formula that was used. All right, now I could type that formula in for each of these rows, but that would be defeating the purpose of Excel. Remember when we pulled down Bubblicious, it had only one word to follow, so it repeated it? Well, here, if we put our cursor in the bottom right-hand corner, as we did before, this time it has a formula to follow, to fill down. So if we pull down, click and hold, and drag down, notice that it did the subtraction for row 4. This is C5 minus D5, C6 minus D6, C7 minus D7, etc. So what happened is it took the formula we put in here, which was the mass minus the chewed mass, and it said, oh, you want me to apply that same formula to the next row and the next row, etc. So this is not, it wouldn't have been too hard to put it in for 6 different amounts, but imagine you had 1,000 or 2,000 or 10,000 of the same things that you needed to do. Excel, once you've got the formula in correctly, and if you've entered the data correctly, Excel will return the right answer. All right, so now the next one we're going to do is the ratio. And right in the label, it tells you that the ratio is the difference divided by the total. Oh, I must tell you one other thing. Notice that when I typed in my mass, I did not put the G into the cell itself. You never want to type the letter in. That always stays in your label, because if you put a letter in with your numbers, the Excel will not know what to do with it when it comes to a formula. All right, so back to the ratio. First thing, equals sign. And then my difference is for row 3, for watermelon, is in E3. So I'm going to click into E3, and then the slash is the sign for divided by, and the total is over here in C3. And then when I hit enter, it gives me my ratio, the difference divided by the total. And once again, I can put my cursor in the bottom right-hand corner and pull down, and voila, it does it for all of the different rows. It applies it to all the different rows. Now the last one that we're going to do for this one is the percent of sugar. And the percent of sugar you learn to figure out percent is the ratio times 100. So we're going to put our equal sign in here, and our ratio is in cell F3 for this one. The asterisk is the symbol for times in Excel, and then we have to manually type in 100, hit enter, and when we fill it down, here are our percents. Now I want to show you one other neat thing, and that is if you come over here, this is expressed in to the nearest 100th, to 2 decimal places. If you pull down on any of these and you needed it with more decimal places, if you right click and you go to Format Cells, and you should be on number over here, you can change how many decimals places that you want it to show up in, just like that. So I'm going to actually undo that and leave it as 2 decimals. So that completes the first part of the tutorial in how to enter your data and how to use formulas to find the difference, the ratio, and the percent of sugar.